The World According to Garp was John Irving's very first bestseller. He says it's the novel that allowed him to become a full-time writer, and it's hard to believe that this year marks its 40th anniversary with more than 10 million copies in print. This morning, we are touching base with the acclaimed novelist and Oscar winner, John Irving. Good to have you in studio with us this morning.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
All right. Garp, World According to Garp was not actually supposed to be the title of the book. What changed?
I couldn't come up with a title that my publishers liked better. I made the mistake of submitting it in manuscript with what I called a working title. The World According to Garp was simply what I called it. But once my editor read the manuscript with that title, he wouldn't accept another title.
I love the story that you tell about your son, Colin, who at the time was 12 years old. You gave him the manuscript to read. You were nervous about what his takeaway would be, what he would think of it. He is now 53 years old. How does that feel, those memories of that first time handing him the manuscript, knowing it's 40 years later?
It's my fondest memory of writing this book was the experience, anxious though I was, of Colin reading it at such a young age. He was my first reader. So that part of my memory of writing this book 40 years ago is pleasant. The fact that it's a novel about sexual hatred, about sexual violence, at the time I was writing it, I feared, actually. I was worried that the subject would be out of date before I finished the book. Sadly, it hasn't gone out of style.
This book was your very first bestseller, as we said. It really helped to shape your career. You were an unknown, relatively unknown novelist before that.
Very unknown, in my opinion.
This is before
hugely unknown. This
is before your Oscars. This is before Owen Meany. How did it shape your work? How did it shape your career?
Well, it was the fourth and last of my novels written when I had 2 hours a day to write, not every day. And I always felt in the writing of those first four novels, Garp included, that if only I had all day to do this, I could really do it better. I could really manage the architecture of the story better. I would have a better overview of what I was doing. It was frustrating to me to have so little time to give to the thing I loved best. But I was a full-time wrestling coach, a full-time English teacher. I had 2 young children. And I imagined it would always be that way. I imagined I would never be self-supporting as a writer. When Garp made me self-supporting as a writer, my disappointment turned on myself, because for the writing of the next book, I hadn't yet learned how to write 8 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I was really down on myself during the writing of The Hotel New Hampshire, because I couldn't use the time I was given. I didn't know how. It wasn't until the 6th novel, The Cider House Rules, that I learned how to extend my concentration span sufficiently so I could really use the time I had.
Congratulations on 40 years.
Thank you. Thank you so much.